Hey guys, welcome to another episode of TRND News Channel. I'm your host, the one and only Johnny Awesome. So, first of all, I have to apologize for not sending out a video last week, simply because I was on a vacay. Oh yeah, flying in a jet, business class, Bahamas, 5-star hotel. That's how I roll. That's what happens when you got the money rolling, son. Just kidding, I'm broke as hell. I had a cheap Ryanair flight to go back home, landed in a dodgy airport in the middle of nowhere. It was basically the size of a little kindergarten. So, enough about me. We're gonna talk about the latest news, and that is the French election. Big hand that the Empire did not prevail, as the heir of Slytherin was valiantly slain by the French posh equivalent, Emmanuel Macron. Yes, the heir of Slytherin in this case, Marine Le Pen. Sorry, but you're a racist bastard. So, this is good news, right? Well, we're not really sure. I mean, of course, we don't want the world to fall into utmost darkness under a fascist, crazy ruler, but at the same time, Emmanuel Macron, who is this guy? Is he a guy worth us trusting? How will the world react to this? Well, we're gonna look at three perspectives. First of all, let's think about the great nation of France. Don't really know why I said it that way. It's a bit awkward, but oh well, go France! People of France. So, we're gonna talk about France because obviously Emmanuel Macron is the new president-elect. However, at the same time, the French people don't really know so much about the guy. I mean, he is kind of politically inexperienced, and also if you look at the polls and you look at the percentage of people who actually voted for him, for his policies, it's only 22%. Most people, 44%, just voted for Emmanuel Macron is because they didn't want to vote for Marine Le Pen. I mean, it's the lesser of two evils. And think about it, if you had to vote for a new headmaster in Hogwarts and you had the option of Snape, which is technically a good guy but at the same time a bad guy, we're not really sure about him, or Dolores Umbridge. It's gonna be Snape, of course, because no one likes that old hag. So, that's the problem with how it is in France. At the same time, he is quite neoliberal. He wants to make France a bit more like the US or the UK. Now, France was quite socialist under Hollande, so it's going to be quite different. It's going to be quite corporate, especially with the reduction of corporate tax to only 25%. On top of that, obviously the private sector is going to blossom. There will be cuts in the public sector as per usual, and go capitalism. Our next point to take a look on is how his presidency will affect the EU. Well, good news for the EU. It's awesome that he became president because Marine Le Pen would basically tell the EU to go, well, shove it. But instead, Emmanuel Macron is very pro-European. In fact, he's slightly too pro-European because he's gonna give the Brits a hard time with the Brexit negotiations. In fact, he actually does say that Brexit is almost an act of crime against the Europeans. So, not very good. He's gonna basically give Theresa May a very hard time. And he does not want the UK to stay in the single market, and he does not want to give them any form of favorable conditions, simply because he wants to make sure that no one else is crazy enough to decide to leave the EU. Kinda makes sense. Finally, we're gonna talk about the great continent of Africa. Yes, we're going to talk about Africa because France has so many still influence in former African colonies, which makes sense because a lot of Africa was colonized by France, kind of thing. So, one thing that Emmanuel Macron does want to do, as he's an awesome businessman, he basically wants to improve trade with Africa, and he also wants to better relationships. But at the same time, Africa is suffering with the growing Islamist, terrorist, you know, those terrorist bastards everywhere these days. So Macron does want to increase military force in France, from France to Africa, and that's why he's actually putting more of the GDP towards military. So that makes sense because in his mind, a stronger Africa is also a stronger France. simply because of trade negotiations. Anyhow, I hope you like this episode. Check out the articles below and subscribe because you know this channel is freaking awesome. No one's gonna subscribe now. Peace out!